I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Dean Reister?
Yes.
Bill Boylan?
Yes.
Bryce Steiner?
Yes.
Jason Franks?
Yes.
Steve Jordan?
Yes.
And Brian's acting mayor tonight. Do we have to have a motion to excuse Jim?
I'll make a motion to excuse Jan.
I'll second.
Bryce Steiner, Jason Franks. Motion on the floor to excuse Jan from the meeting. Dean Reister?
Yes.
Bill Boylan?
Yes.
Bryce Steiner?
Yes.
Jason Franks?
Yes.
Steve Jordan?
Yes.
Everybody's had a chance to review the minutes from last month's meeting on April 10th. If there's no additions or corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion.
Steve Jordan.
I'll second.
Motion on the floor to approve the minutes from the April 10th meeting. Steve Jordan,
Yes.
Bill Boylan,
Yes.
Dean Reister,
Yes.
Bryce Steiner,
Yes.
Jason Franks.
Yes.
Moving into the April finance report, any questions on the distributions or
The
bank
CT consultants that was for
engineering on the,
Canal
canal,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the April,
I make that
Bank rec-
motion.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Jason Franks. Motion on the floor to approve the April finance report. Dean Reister,
Yes.
Jason Franks,
Yes.
Bill Boylan,
Yes.
Bryce Steiner,
Yes.
and Steve Jordan.
Yes.
Two things for council to sign, that they received and a copy of the bank reconciliation. We have no special minutes, so moving into recognition of guests. Keith West is on the agenda.
Okay, guys, thank you. Most of you know me. For better, for worse, whatever. Last night at the zoning appeals board meeting, Jason Horman was there, Stacy Peters, Tom Blair, and myself. Mike wasn't there last night. We got some serious concerns, and one of them being we need, as a group, to all start working together better, because we got a problem issue coming with this daggone trailer down here. And we're afraid we're gonna get sued, and if we don't have backing from the town, you're not gonna have a board by the next meeting. It's that simple. I'm not trying to browbeat anybody or do anything like that. I'm just telling you the way it is. We're not sticking our private self out there to get sued over this. And we're asking for a line item, emergency measure, to approve lawyer fees where we're gonna have some cost. We need something to cover that, and we need to know that the town is gonna pay that, because we're not gonna pay it. And we need help, and we need better leadership as the person that's ahead of that board. We find it very hard to follow along and understand what Gabe is saying and what he's wanting, and we all know there's an issue there. Okay, throw the questions out there and I'll do what I can
Well,
to answer.
I know last time that we had a problem with having a solicitor on board. I mean, now we have a solicitor on board that can look at the documentation as it comes in and stay up to what's going on with that. Last time we kind of didn't have that. I mean, we had a solicitor, but there was some communication that was lost because he had reclused himself for a conflict. But then it just kind of dropped and nobody
You
communicated.
mean the previous solicitor?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So that's kind of why the whole thing fell through the cracks, because the turnover we had with, employees in the village and the way it was timing out. wasn't working out for us to just go at it. So now that we've got a solicitor, I don't see why when this process starts and the process goes through its motions like it did last time, now we have a solicitor that's on board that can just look at the paperwork
Okay.
and advise us as we go.
It's my understanding that Gabe has contacted you, correctly?
Did contact me a few weeks ago, yes.
And you are gonna be at the next,
He asked me to
Meeting.
attend the next meeting.
and you are gonna oversee legally, this is not a legal meeting, it's done in a proper lawful manner, and then you are gonna forward all the needed stuff to the court.
That's up to council if I'm gonna be doing that or not. Essentially, it's not my money that I spend when I attend these things or anything like that, it's the village's.
Gabe?
If I'm authorized to do this, I'll do it, that's my job. But if council says, no, it's not worth it, or no, then I can't. I mean, privately, the board could hire me as a private attorney, but then you're talking a heck of a lot more cost than I'm charging the village right now,
Okay,
right?
I will tell you what we were told last night, is Gabe had talked to you, he's got $500 in a line item that he can spend, and he said that you had agreed to do it for that.
Well, the line item, the $500 is for materials and supplies, not for legal fees.
Okay, then you guys need to clarify
So,
that with
I'm
him,
just
so that
saying
he's
from
got an
finance
understanding.
Right, and from my position as a solicitor, I can't just say, yeah, I'm gonna be there and I'm gonna do this, right? I have to be authorized to do that. If I have authorization, I'm told to do it, I'll do it, of course. I had, like I said, a couple weeks ago, Gabe called me, he said he had $500 to spend on this, how much did I think it was gonna be? So it's gonna be more than $500. I mean, that's for damn near certain.
Probably
So-
only about $400 left in there after we bought supplies for the zoning. I mean, he purchased some stamps and some other supplies this year as well, so.
Yeah, I mean, the initial issue when I got on board was there weren't transcripts, people weren't sworn in, there wasn't sworn testimony, exhibits weren't admitted, authenticated, things like that. If we're gonna have to get transcripts, all that kind of stuff, I mean, the money's gonna rack up a lot.
I can understand that, yeah.
So, if this council wants me to do that, of course I will.
We just need, as the zoning board, to know that the council's got our rear end covered here, because we don't wanna be hanging out.
Let me clarify, let me ask a question. Does that board have any personal liability in any action they take?
In the action they take as a board, no. I mean, now if they're committing fraud or
Well-
bribery, stuff like that, then yeah, that's personally liable you'd be. But not with a denial or approval of a permit or an occupancy or anything like that. You're not gonna be personally liable for that. They're not gonna come slap a lien on your house or anything like that.
See, that's the stuff that we need to have clarified, so that we got some understanding, because actually, there's 4 of us that's ready to get off. It's that simple. And every one of them told me last night, if this doesn't come to a good conclusion tonight from you guys, that we feel that we're not getting the right support, you won't have a board next time.
Well, from what I understand, this process has to start over.
And
So
that's
as-
all scheduled.
As the process starts over, maybe the determination of the board will be different, who knows? I mean, but right now, as we go, you guys have your meeting, come to consensus of where you're at, and then once we figure out where you're at with your meeting, then I think that's when we should ask our attorney to look at what you've got and decide as a council whether or not we want to pursue it and pay our attorney to battle it.
Okay, the meeting is scheduled for June 4th at 5 o'clock. Hearing notices are supposed to go to the paper before the 24th of May, and the notice to all interested parties is supposed to be out before the 24th.
So basically what it sounds like is we need to make a decision as council tonight, prior to that meeting, whether we wanna make a line, or take.
You need to have an executive session.
That'd be my suggestion, that way you can get advice from, on the attorney-client privilege, whether it's worth the expense of what we're at.
But I think important thing to clarify is that there's no personal liability for you, because I know that was a concern for you and some of the
It
members,
is,
so.
yes.
Absolutely, which makes sense, but like, yeah, so we clarify that that's not the case, so that I would think.
But the next action is whether the village wants to expend the funds to go move forward with this.
And if the village doesn't wanna expend the funds, hey, as far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna say, drop it. Which, I actually talked to you several months ago about that.
Well, I don't think that we was in a position that we felt as council we were not supporting our board. We was just in a situation of lack of information and process.
I
that
agree
we
with
couldn't
you.
move forward.
And I think we actually, as the board, are in the same position. I think the information is not clearly getting from Gabe to the board.
That would be a true statement.
I even attended a couple of those meetings, and when you walked out, you didn't know any more than you did when you walked in.
You're more confused when you walk out than when you go in.
Let me ask this, Cam, if we would entertain a motion to go to executive session, would you be able to advise council on what your legal opinion would be on this litigation or no?
I could, yes.
Would anybody be willing to entertain a motion to move to executive session to
Do we
discuss?
want to talk about this at the end in like old or new business?
Ken?
We can.
Hey, I'll
And
stay
then
for
we
the
can-
whole meeting if you want. If you got more questions, I'll sit here and wait on you.
I mean, we're
No,
just gonna
that's not
proceed with the
necessary.
meeting and kind of get our village business taken care of,
And
and
then-
then we
then
can
we
kind
take
of
care of that.
address all that.
That's fine.
That's fair enough.
I'm gonna take a candy bar
Fair enough.
that I'm not supposed to have,
Well, then, maybe not true.
and I'll just wait on you.
Thank you, Mr. West, appreciate it.
Take care.
Moving on to the next item of business on the agenda, George has presented a written police report. Last I knew he was gonna make it to me, but obviously he's had business come up where he hasn't been able to make it, so.
He said the one homicide, I called him in Antwerp, was not a homicide. There was bones found down by the river, and they actually were not even able to determine the species. And they sent it to an anthropologist or whatever. But he says that's when you have a suspicion, that's what it comes up with. So, okay.
All right, Ashley did provide an EMS report. Again, I don't have any answers to those. If you have questions, you'll have to contact Ashley directly on the written report. So, moving on to the fiscal officer report. Start out, we have the third reading of Resolution 2024-08. This is a resolution of necessity to levy a tax that is a renewal of an existing levy in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the purpose of current expenses. We'll entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Steve, there's a motion on the floor to adopt Resolution 2024-08. Dean Reister,
Yes.
Steve Jordan,
Yes.
Bill Boylan,
Yes.
Bryce Steiner,
Yes.
Jason Franks.
Yes.
Moving on to the third reading of Resolution 2024-09. This is a resolution of necessity to levy a tax that is a renewal of an existing levy in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the purpose of providing and maintaining fire apparatus, appliances, and equipment, including a pumper and tanker fire engine and a fire gear for the firefighting personnel. Entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion on the floor to adopt Resolution 2024-09. Bill Boylan,
Yes.
Jason Franks,
Yes.
Dean Reister,
Yes.
Bryce Steiner,
Yes.
Steve Jordan.
Yes.
Moving on to the third reading of Resolution 2024-10. This is a resolution of necessity to levy a tax that is in a renewal of an existing levy in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the purpose of police protection. Motion to adopt.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion on the floor to adopt Resolution 2024-10. Dean Reister,
Yes.
Bill Boylan,
Yes.
Bryce Steiner,
Yes.
Jason Franks,
Yes.
Steve Jordan.
Yes.
All right, we have a emergency reading of Resolution 2024-12. This is a resolution authorizing the village administrator to award, I'm reading the wrong one. This is a resolution authorizing the village administrator to enter into a contract for the purpose of liability insurance for the village of Antwerp and declaring the same an emergency. Motion to suspend.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules of 3 readings.
For a second.
I'll second.
Motion to suspend the rules in regards to resolution 2024-12. Dean Reister,
Yes.
Bill Boylan,
Yes.
Bryce Steiner,
No.
Jason Franks,
Yes.
Steve Jordan.
Yes.
All right. Before we move into the reading, is there questions or concerns?
Have we gotten prices from anybody else?
We just received a quote the other day in regards to the renewal with our current PEP, which with their member discount that they offered this year that we did not receive last year, it came in just under the current proposal, but that does not include the additional $1.9 million of replacement insurance on the equipment, plus the rate on the Ohio plan also includes a minimum of a 5% increase on the replacement cost on the buildings and line items.
And what would the increase be in paragraph 5 of resolution 2024-12 each year?
That'll be determined each year when we get the renewal quote.
Yeah, so we have one here, that almost seems like MediaCom giving me a rate, and then the next year it's 20% higher.
We wouldn't have
That's the
to
way it
accept
is.
it next year.
Yeah, we.
Yeah, we do. It
wouldn't
says
have
it's
to-
a 3-year.
It's an option to
It's
choose.
3 years for renewable.
It's renewable.
So next year we could look at it again.
And the other thing that is not included in the PEP renewal rate is the Ohio plan automatically offers the mayor's bond and the fiscal officer bond is included in the premium, which is an approximate additional savings of about $200 a year.
Okay. I would like to, if we could change this emergency resolution over to the PEP and keep our business in Antwerp, I would be glad to vote for it. But the way it is, it moves business out of town, and I cannot support that. We currently have it with Antwerp Insurance, and this would be moving it out. And the Village of Antwerp failed to fill out the paperwork up until 10 days ago and submit it for our local company, is my understanding.
We never received a renewal paperwork at all.
We didn't receive anything.
It was sent back in February.
Never received anything.
No.
Okay, well, either way, why does this need to be an emergency?
Because
insurance-
our premium has to go into effect before the 22nd of this month.
Okay, so I would like to keep it where it's at since we've had it there for 30 years.
You're paying more for less. That makes no sense.
But we're not, but will this company in Archbold pay RETA taxes or property taxes in Antwerp?
Well,
From a financial standpoint, as a fiscal officer, I believe that we're getting a better quote and rate from the Ohio plan than what we currently are with PEP. But that's my personal opinion, I guess, from the financial side of things. And that's due to the fact that you're getting more insurance for basically the exact same amount that you're going to be paying. And our premium last year with PEP was $41,468, which was for, like I said, $1.9 million less of insurance on the fire engines and the EMS and everything else, as well as lower insurance on the buildings. So if we were to have a disaster, let's say a tornado like went through Oakwood, came through and destroyed everything, we would be losing out on the amount of what we can claim.
Well, you still can't claim more than what's there.
No, the Ohio plan, the
maximum-
reason they have, the Ohio plan allows you, if you have your equipment insured for 80% of the value of what a new one costs, they will automatically replace it with a new one,
Okay.
not for what the insured value is.
So
So
when
that-
we got the quote from our local company versus the Archbold company, did we ask for apples to apples comparisons?
We filled out the paperwork that was emailed to me and sent that back to them, so can't answer that question.
Okay.
I mean, the current rate with PEP is right at, let's see, $40,000 for renewal. So So I would imagine if we raised the 1.8 or $1.9 million of coverage and the additional coverage on the buildings, we would be at a higher premium. Plus, we'd still have to pay for the fiscal officer bonds.
I mean, that might be the case.
Because the original quote with the apples to apples quote, when we did an apples to apples quote with the Ohio plan versus what we currently had, was 31,000, is that correct? Versus 41,000. And then when we increased the coverage based on the 1.8 million, that's when we got up to the 41,000.
I just remember several.
So you're
years ago.
talking $10,000 difference in
Yeah.
premium based on that additional increase.
Sure. I mean, I understand there could be, if we had apples to apples, it would be probably something we could actually compare.
Well,
But
that's what I was
here's
saying,
something
the
that
apples,
I'm
the apples
concerned-
to apples quote was 31,000
Right.
versus 41,000, or
So
40,000.
if we renewed the same plan that we have right now through the Ohio plan, it would be 31,000 compared to what is our plan currently.
39,000, I just got the email
Yeah,
yesterday,
this
39,936, and that, they offered a discount this year of 1123.
So the 39 is with the 11.
That's with the discount, it was 41,060 without the
So
discount,
apples to apples, we're at a savings of about $8,000 a year.
correct.
Yes.
Plus an extra, like I said, the bonds, which is not, it's minimal, but I mean, it's something that's automatically included with the
I
Ohio.
mean,
plan.
typically, as the council that I've been on here in my second term, we've always managed to at least get what we have at a better premium. We've done it with our health insurance, and we've done it with our garbage collection and things like that. If the numbers come in are the same, then we usually hold true to the same contract. But when we're looking at substantial savings, we've had no problem changing any insurance provider in the history that I've been here. So, I mean, if it was advised that we should have a better policy, an apples to apples policy at the cost of what we are getting from the Ohio plan compared, I wouldn't mind seeing that comparison if we have that.
We probably
do we
wouldn't
not?
have, we would not have the time before the renewal, that's
We
why we did.
would end up having to do a special meeting to just pass this before, if we ever got that information back. That's
The other
just my
thing, the other
input.
thing to keep in mind is, with PEP, they have what's called a cumulative reserve fund, that if we would cancel with them, we get a portion of that back, which is $4,500 and $45.42 and 52 cents. So that would also reduce the premium that we're paying into the Ohio plan by another 45 this first year.
You said that was 45?
$4,542. So in fact, if you took that off of the 41,576, you'd be looking at what, 36 to 37,000. Let's do this. Why don't we move forward with the reading, and if it fails due to lack of second, we'll move on. I mean, if there's no other discussion on it, because all we've done now is suspend the rules.
All right, and now we're having a discussion whether or
That's
not
why I
we
said
want
if
to pass
there's
it.
no other discussion, I said.
I mean, there's more people here.
Yeah, I don't see a reason why not to go with the Ohio plan. That's what we were elected for, is do the town's business and get the best deals we can for the coverage or whatever it is we're working on. I'm like Bryce, I'd like to stay in town, but, you know, we've got the best we can in order to cover what we have, because we can't afford a loss that doesn't recover the equipment we've already got.
Did we give the current provider a chance to re-quote?
We just got their quote today, the renewal suit night.
And that was based on last year's stuff, and that's what I said. Well, which what we originally received from PEP, or from the Ohio plan, came in at like $31,200 for that apples to apples comparison to what we currently have. Then we sat down and reviewed I emailed Bob, the fire chief, and Ashley in regards to, because that was when they explained to us if we were insure things at 80%, at least 80% of the a new cost, that if it was totaled, the Ohio plan just pays 100% for a new one, as long as you, so something we'll have to keep an eye on each year to make sure we're up to date. But
Is PEP actually a state-funded agency? Is that,
I'm not sure either one of them.
neither
are
one
state
of
funded.
them.
No.
No. I just remember when Real Waste was up for contract in Paulding, and then they chose, the town went to the other one because they saved a little bit. That business pulled out and moved to Oakwood. The last thing I want to do is see more jobs leave this town.
No, I think we all would agree with that,
Okay.
but that
So
don't mean
if
that
somebody
that's
wants-
spending the money that the taxpayers entrust us to spend wisely makes that a wise decision, because we have feelings. I mean, you kinda gotta check your feelings at the door when you're dealing with public dollars.
Is there any other discussion?
So, you
Say,
know,
if somebody's for it, then put in a motion.
Well, we have to actually have a reading of the resolution at this time. If there's no other discussion, we'll move forward to that reading.
the only other thing that we might have to lay on the line is if this doesn't pass, we will have to have a special meeting to pass some sort of insurance, because we are gonna expire. But we have to be contracted with somebody, so we will either pass this tonight or have a plan to have a re-look at what the numbers are. And then we're still gonna have to come back and have a special meeting before our insurance expires and pass some sort of resolution for insurance.
All right, I'm gonna move into the emergency reading of Resolution 2024-12. This is a resolution authorizing the village administrator to enter into a contract for property and liability insurance for the village of Antwerp and declaring the same an emergency. Motion to adopt.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion on the floor to adopt Resolution 2024-12. Dean Reister,
Yes.
Bill Boylan,
Yes.
Bryce Steiner,
Nope.
Jason Franks,
Yep.
Steve Jordan.
Yes.
Alright, next is a emergency reading of motion, or of resolution 2024-13. This is a resolution authorizing the village administrator to award the Ohio Department of Development water and wastewater infrastructure grant to E&L contractors in the amount of $426,000 and declaring the same an emergency.
Make a motion to suspend.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is that Jason or Steve? I'm sorry.
Steve.
Motion on the floor to suspend the rules regarding resolution 2024-13. Dean Reister,
Yes.
Steve Jordan,
Yes.
Bill Boylan,
Yes.
Bryce Steiner,
Nope.
Jason Franks.
Yes.
Is there any discussion? If not, we'll move forward with the reading. Emergency reading of resolution 2024-13, a resolution authorizing the village administrator to award the Ohio Department of Development water and wastewater infrastructure grant to E&L contractors in the amount of $426,000 and declaring the same an emergency. Motion to adopt.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion on the floor to adopt resolution 2024-13. Dean Reister,
Yes.
Bill Boylan,
Yes.
Bryce Steiner,
Yes.
Jason Franks,
Yes.
Steve Jordan.
Yes.
And that's all I have. We'll move on to committee reports.
I'd like to report on the Planning and Zoning Commission if I can. We were scheduled for a meeting for May 2nd. We were unable to do the meeting because of lack of attendance. Ken Reinhardt, myself, and Steve Oberlin were the only ones in attendance for that meeting. What we've come up against is on the issue 2 for the Ohio law on marijuana and cannabis. Is originally, when it was passed in November, we didn't have a meeting in December, so we didn't discuss it. In January, we brought it up, and we were going to talk to the sheriff, so he was contacted in the following month, and he referred us to the county prosecutor. So the next month come, we tried to get hold of the county prosecutor. He was on vacation, so we couldn't. So the next month, we got a hold of the county prosecutor. He referred us to the Antwerp solicitor to go through him for advice. So this month, we tried to have a meeting to establish something for it, and we didn't have enough members. So we're into the 5th month now, and we still don't have anything as far as what we wanna do, so I feel if the council is in favor of something, that we need to move forward on our own, because there's no guarantee that next month we'll have enough people, because we're coming into the holiday or the summer vacation period, and we normally have problems trying to get people in for that. So that's where we're at on that situation. We've kind of been stalled out, and now we're into a bigger problem as far as getting people to attend. So I just wanted to bring that up. Everything else is gone as far as our working on the zoning part of it. We're working on the part for the subdivisions, when we pretty well got that cornered as far as the only issue we have that we're still working on is the sidewalks, and it's more or less for this new subdivision possibly out here where the field is. That we're trying to figure out a way if, once it starts to develop, we have a house on one end of the block that's in and the house gets put in on the other end of the block, there's nothing in between. If we can come up with some sort of a statute for like temporary sidewalks so people aren't walking out on the streets, that's kind of what we're still working on. That's the only catch we have in that part of it, and we'll be able to move forward and present something to the council. So, other than that, that's what I got on there. I've kind of typed up something for the marijuana and the cannabis as far as a resolution, or an ordinance, if the village, if the council wants to go ahead with it, I can present it under new business. Otherwise, we'll just go ahead with the rest of the meeting. That's all I've got on this.
Why don't you take a look at it?
I want to make up just the one copy, but I'm sure.
Oh, okay.
You can pass it around if you want. Or I can read it. I think it probably should go under new business.
If you want, you can make copies and hand them out.
You should just turn on and put a piece of paper in there.
The way it is now, if we would accept it tonight, we'd have to have a public hearing in a month. So another month, then you'll have to go back into the council meeting again. So we're still 2 months out if we would start the process tonight.
I don't even know if the state would do anything.
Yeah.
The state's not doing anything yet.
Don't we wanna wait for the state to do it?
Essentially, if we pass something and the state comes out with something different, then we're back to square one.
Yeah, they're gonna override anything that we put in there.
Well, the only way the state would override what we put in there is if it's a conflict of interest. Say we don't want it downtown, the state comes out and says, well, you gotta put it downtown. That would be, so it would be the only way it would get changed is if there was a problem that it would be a conflict with state law. Otherwise, law inside the village can be, as long as it enhances rather than deters.
Somebody just got public record report.
I guess at this point, I just soon wait to see what the state says before we move forward with anything. And if we wanna read what they have and see what we can manipulate and change, then work with it then. At least we know what we're working with.
Well, the only downfall to that is if a business moves in a downtown area, they're grandfathered in at that time. No matter what ordinance you put in place, it's gonna be there. You cannot take them out once they're established. So if you don't put something in place ahead of them, you can't take it out later and say, well, hey, we've changed our mind, guys, you can't be here.
Do you mean if a dispensary were to move in?
Right.
They legally can't right now. They legally can't move in yet.
There's no method to get a license.
There is no method to get a license. I mean, the cost of it, the numbers they're throwing around are astronomical. I mean, they're talking $100,000 just for a license, and that it gets renewed every 2 years. But right now, there is literally almost no guidance from the state about how to do this or how to get it done. We had a discussion about this at a client in Defiance, and I mean, essentially, it's legal, but not legal still, because there's nothing there to get going on. I mean, an ordinance could be passed, something like this, And then all of a sudden the state says, well, you can't exclude it from the downtown area, so you can't exclude it from this district or that type of thing. And then we're revoking an ordinance and trying to find something else. I know it doesn't seem early on in the game because this was a while ago when the law passed, but with how the state legislature is currently, I don't know when we're gonna learn anything new. It could be a month, it could be 6, it could be another year.
What's my question, Cam, thank you for that. What's to keep someone moving in by the vacant building and saying, this is what I'm gonna do? And do we have any, I don't want it in town.
Right.
And as Bill said, if someone can open that up and operating a business, 6 months from now, we can't come down and say, hey, you're gonna have to move.
Right.
Is there anything to prevent them from doing that until we get some kind of legislation?
So it frankly doesn't matter if they do that. So I could go buy a building, name it Cam's Dispensary. Right now, I don't have the ability to operate a dispensary. And once the guidance comes through, we're able to do something about that before these licenses go out. Nobody is able right now to buy a building and say, this is where my dispensary is gonna be, because we have no idea how many licenses are gonna be issued, how many are gonna go out to each area, right? You drive up to Camden, Michigan, it's a village, about this big, there's 3 dispensaries on the main road. But that's what Michigan did. Who knows what Ohio is gonna end up doing with this? But right now, no, nobody's gonna be able to come in, buy a building, and then once the guidance comes out, say, I bought this, I'm grandfathered in, because no license has been issued.
So are the only ones that are going are ones that previously were issued medical
So-
dispensaries?
So yeah, the ones with medical dispensaries right now are starting to move forward with that.
Yeah.
But
I think the legislators' objectives was going to be that if you had a medical facility currently in your possession, that when it became legalized recreational, you would have 1 year of operation without competition. So they would not issue recreational licenses for a year and let the medical marijuana. I learned a lot the last time I went through this, and a guy had a facility, a medical marijuana facility, and a grow facility. And he says, the medical barely breaks even. It's the recreational they all want. So,
yeah, and right now, a medical isn't gonna be able to move in and then just start selling it recreationally. That's just not gonna be able to happen. It's not gonna be legally allowed right now until that guidance comes through. And like I said, I've heard everything as much as, 30 to 60 days, as it's gonna be a whole nother year before we do anything.
I've heard some small towns are doing really well at it right now.
Really?
Well, I've heard it, but now it makes me think that those were just rumors and somebody was having wishful thinking.
Yeah, I mean,
I've heard that.
Because I heard somebody told me Sherwood was just doing phenomenal on it.
on the medical, yeah, 'cause
Oh, no.
they're not selling recreational insurance.
Okay.
Yeah.
every time I drive by the
for
building,
sure.
I do it every evening or every afternoon. I never even see any cars there, so I don't know how busy they are.
Okay.
One of the main differences with medical and recreational is with medical, you can't smoke it, right? They don't sell the leaf that you smoke in medical marijuana plants. You ingest it in a different way. The recreational obviously includes smoking it. So,
Well, I suggest we just move on at this point.
Any other committee reports?
We had a personnel committee meeting, basically went into executive session to discuss personnel, and when we came out, there was no actions taken, so nothing really there. So I got the notes for you, but nothing really to report or add to it.
Somebody have any other committee reports?
Anybody have any questions for George? He's here.
What are the
Happy birthday.
bones, George?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.
What are the bones you found?
The anthropologist does not know. They're not human.
Dinosaur?
Not all
Alien.
I don't know.
Alien. Perfect. We'll be famous.
Where was that located?
3 houses down from your house.
Okay. I was wondering if you guys gonna find that.
What did you throw your turkey out there for? Mess everything up.
Any other questions for George? If not, we'll move to old
Thanks,
business.
Thank you, George.
Is there any old business that needs to be discussed?
Did the library get their power washing done?
I don't know.
Okay. But we got that email, and I was just wondering if you wanted to explain it at all. and I wasn't quite sure if this was to me or someone else, but this email is to remind you as a council member, you have oversight of finances and not of employees. This is my role. If you need something, the appropriate action is to contact me and I will either address the issue or assign the project. I've explained to my direct reports that I delegate the work and I alone communicate with council members. I hope we can all keep this in mind moving forward. If I want to talk to the employees, I'll talk to them.
I got
Okay.
that email.
Yeah, okay.
We all
Because-
got it.
Everybody did.
We all
Okay.
got it. Yeah.
I'm not sure, is it in reference to something?
Just a reminder, it is what it's,
Okay, so why can't we get the library cleaned, our building?
I'm not gonna have this discussion again.
Well, I
I'm not
can't
gonna-
figure
I'm not
out
gonna be
why,
part of it.
because I have people telling me that if they don't see stuff happening, they're not gonna support the taxes. And I know we have a power washer.
That hasn't worked in years. First of all, hey, George, did we drive by the library and take a look at it the other day?
Yes, sir.
Did you notice any needs for power washing?
Okay, but neither one of you work there, so I'm not interested in either one of you thinking they work there. And they're the ones that told us. And we pay those taxes, and we like our library. And refusing to do it just makes us sound like we're obstinate.
Well, first of all, we pay the electric, we pay the water, we pay the sewer, we provide them a free building, a free parking lot, we remove the snow. One thing that's not in the agreement is power washing the outside for cosmetic reasons. And they have maintenance. I've had conversations with their director in the past. They have maintenance. I told them, I said, we're not coming in anymore and changing light bulbs. That's not our role. I mean, that's something that, it's like changing toilet paper, you just gotta do and stuff. And, they have the capability of getting it done. We don't do it.
It's our building, and it's our job to do it. Can you add it on?
I don't have a power washer
We
that
have
works.
2 power washers.
Huh?
We have a power washer.
It doesn't run.
How come I
have to
have
go
seen them
and
do
run
it?
Well,
They use budget.
Let me just make note
Okay.
that there was a resident in my office today who was mentioned that she is going to volunteer to do that, so.
That was
if
awful nice.
I'm not saying it's gonna take place, but I'm saying that there was a resident in my office that asked if she could volunteer for it, and I said, I would assume council would have no issue with that, but you had better speak with the library personnel. So it may get done regardless, so.
Perfect.
Great.
Got an update on Canal and Wentworth? We're having that.
35% done on engineering. We're going to clean catch basins, and we have to uncover a manhole cover on Main Street. And they want to come down and take a look, verify the directions of the lines and stuff involved. So that's one way they can do it. Water plants at about 35% as well. Slow going.
Somebody asked me about a guardrail on Canal. That was destroyed by a truck or something?
Down by Joe Myers.
Yes.
On the escrow.
Yeah.
Yes.
The purchase order was for, wasn't it?
Is that-
Well, what it's for is for 2 of the U-shaped pipes. And George and I have talked, we're gonna put those instead of the guardrail there. Because if you hit that, you'll still be there when George arrives. It won't be going anywhere.
Will those be put in by Nick or?
Probably Nick. I
Okay.
haven't talked to him, but that would be my intent.
Okay.
Between him and, I don't know,
Kaiser or?
Pudge maybe or something. Gotta dig a hole and pour it. And this comes with, Dan is making the poles, and it comes with where the poles actually set down on top of the concrete. And it's bolted onto a bottom pattern instead of it being immersed in concrete. Because like this one up at the corner, we had to, have them come in and jerry rig it and weld it. And they still need to paint it. But so that'll be the way those will be done.
Do we paint that? Or
Nick is, that's part of what,
Nick is supposed to?
yeah, I'll paint it. We've already invoiced or sent the bill to the trucking company.
Speaking of Nick, has he got any plans on reseeding along the sidewalk?
Yeah, he was gonna do it like last week or whatever, and it was raining and stuff, and he says, I've gotta wait for it to break.
Right, okay.
So, yes, he came in last week.
Starting the process.
Any other old business? If not, we'll move into new business. Do we need to discuss what we were going to discuss earlier on the new business on the?
Yep.
No, that's the point where we need to probably entertain a motion for executive session, I would imagine, if there's no other new business to be discussed besides.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
For attorney-client privilege. Bryce Steiner made a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Bill Boylan. Bryce Steiner made a
Now,
motion to move into executive
We're
session.
done, we'll just go to the mayor's report after this, and that's it, right? Because I'm gonna sign their papers, so they don't have to sit here for
That's
the
fine.
executive.
Yeah, that's all we
Well,
have.
let you know what the decision's gonna be on this,
Okay,
okay?
yes, sir, I will.
And then I will convey it to the rest of the board.
Okay,
Okay.
I will reach out to
Thank you.
Thanks, Keith.
Thank you.
Motion on the floor to
So
move
we're
into
just going
executive
into
session for attorney-client privilege. Bryce
Bryce.
Steiner?
Yes. Did we want Keith in the meeting?
No.
No.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody else. We'll get it.
Oh,
Okay, thanks, man.
Back this up. We need someone else to make the motion to move to executive session for
I'll make that
attorney-client privilege.
motion.
All right, that would, Dean Reister's made a motion for executive session. Is there a second to Dean's motion?
I'll second.
Jason Franks. Motion on the floor to move to executive session. Dean Reister,
Yes.
Bill Boylan,
Yes.
Bryce Steiner.
Yes.
Bryce, you can't vote
on
this.
Jason Franks,
Yes.
Steve Jordan.
Oh, I can't vote on going into the executive session. Okay.
Okay, for attorney-client privilege, okay, at 6:16.
6:16.
Is that all set up, Bryce?
Yes.
And I'll just ask you to step out one more second. We're gonna move
That way
forward
it's
on
recorded.
some action.
Okay.
Yep.
Then out here?
Yeah,
Or
that's
just
fine.
off to the side?
You can just step out of the room, please.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion that our solicitor contact the zoning board of appeals.
Dean Reister made a motion. Is there a second to Dean's motion?
I'll second.
Second. Motion on the floor that the solicitor contact the zoning board of appeals in regards to 103 Wilcox. Dean Reister,
Yes.
Bill Boylan,
Yes.
Jason Franks,
Yes.
Steve Jordan.
Yes.
And that's it. Okay.
All right, vote's over, Bryce. Okay.
All right, that takes care of that. Is there any other new business? Other new business?
I have no new business.
You have anything, Ken?
I'd ask for another executive session.
I'll make a motion, we go in executive session.
Henry,
I'll second.
for
I'll get to do it.
executive session. Who made the motion? I'm sorry.
I did.
Dean Reister and Jason, you second that?
Yep.
Motion on the floor to move into executive session. Dean Reister,
Yes.
Jason Franks,
Yes.
Bill Boylan,
Yes.
Bryce Steiner.
I don't know. Am I allowed to?
This one.
Yes.
Steve Jordan.
Yes.
And we'll say
48.
6:48. Okay, is there any other new business? If not, what's left other than new business is mayor's report. If there's no other new business.
So,
We need to open the door, there's nobody out there.
Oh,
for the village, it was $1,050, state $179, and indigent driver is $6 for a total of $1,235.
Pretty low this month.
Everybody's behaving.
Motion,
No crime.
entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Also, good.
Ister, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.